The boogeyman is the most easily divided into three categories. The kind that punishes misbehaved children, the kind that are more violence prone, and the kind that protect the innocent. They all relate to each other in some way, being that they all exist to teach young children a lesson. The large majority of the boogeyman are there just to frighten children with punishments and not actually inflict much damage. The more vicious boogeyman is said to steal the children at night and even eat them. The last category is the boogeyman who protect people and only punish those guilty, regardless of age. Appearance. The creature's depictions vary from person to person, as it has no definite appearance, and simply seems to embody terror. Although usually depicting a masculine entity, it can also be female. While the description of the boogeyman differs on a cultural level, there are often some shared similarities between depictions. Many variations of the boogeyman are depicted as having claws, talons, and sharp teeth. Along with that, the majority of boogeyman depictions are of the spirit variety, while the minority are demons, witches, and other creatures of the night. Some are even described to have certain animal features such as horns, hooves, and bug-like eyes. The Oni. The Oni are evil spirits from Japanese mythology and folklore. Oni are typically large in size, possess superhuman strength, and a terrifying appearance, and are associated with disease, calamity, and misfortunes. Oni are found in countless Japanese stories and myths, where they tend to be depicted as villains. Oni usually possess one or two short horns, which are said to be part of an ox. They are typically depicted wearing little to no clothing, but when clothed, they are usually shown wearing a linen cloth made of tiger skin. This combination of ox horns and tiger skin. Oni are depicted in Japanese artwork with a variety of skin colors, including black, blue, green, red, and yellow skin. They often have large locks of unkempt hair. Sometimes Oni are depicted with a third eye on the center of their forehead. In other cases, an Oni may be a cyclops-like with one single eye. Oni typically have large mouths with a long, almost tusk-like teeth. At the end of their powerful limbs are clawed hands and feet, and they are often shown carrying their choice of weapon, a large, heavy iron club. The term Oni is often translated to English as orc or demon, due to their similarity to demons from Christian traditions. Unlike demons in Christianity, Oni are not considered to be inherently evil. Rather, they are considered to be wrathful and uncontrolled, but still able to be converted to Buddhism. According to Japanese Buddhism, Oni constitute one of the 6 orders of life in the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. When a particularly wicked person dies, it is believed that they will either be reborn as or transformed into an Oni. In some tales, a person can become so wicked that they turn into an Oni even before they die. According to some myths, a part of the soul of either a deity or a mortal can become an Oni if that person or deity has been insulted or wronged in some way. Oni are said to reside in a Buddhist version of hell and are servants of Enma Daioh. The Oni punish and torture others who had been wicked in their past life. These horrible punishments include peeling off skin, crushing bones and frying the damned in a giant frying pan. They are also known to emerge from Buddhist hell in order to punish or terrify wicked mortals. The Headless Horseman by Jack Perlewski. Quote, "The Headless Horseman rides tonight through stark and starless skies, shattering the silence with his otherworldly cries. He races through the darkness with his alabaster steed. The Headless Horseman rides tonight, wherever the fates would lead." Unquote. The Headless Horseman is a mythical figure in English and American folklore since the Middle Ages. This entity is very similar to the Headless Reapers or demonic fairy known in Irish myth. The most commonly known examples of the Headless Horseman is from the American tale The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving, and the English tale Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. In American folklore, the Headless Horseman was originally known as the Headless Hessian of the Hollow. His story begins in New York during the Battle of White Plains, just one of the many battles that took place in America's fight for independence from the British Crown. The horseman was a Hessian trooper who took part in the battle. Hessian troops were German soldiers that fought on the British side of the war. During this battle, this particular Hessian trooper was unlucky enough to be decapitated by a cannonball. His head would be carried away. His body would be carried away by his comrades, but his head, which had been shattered into pieces, was left scattered around the battlefield. His remains were then buried in the old Dutch church of Sleepy Hollow. Legend has it he would rise as a vengeful ghost in search of his lost head. The reason this tale was often associated with Halloween and why the horseman's head is sometimes depicted as a pumpkin is the battle took place on the 28th of October, only a few days before Halloween. In the English story Gawain and the Green Knight, one of King Arthur's knights is challenged to a duel by a mysterious Green Knight. But this in itself isn't really a duel, as the Green Knight tells Gawain that he will allow him to strike him once, and then he will return the same blow a year and a day later. Gawain accepts this challenge, and with one swing of his axe he manages to decapitate the Green Knight. But the knight then simply picks up his head and reminds Gawain that he will return in a year's time, and goes on his way. When eventually Gawain finds the mysterious Green Knight, Gawain accepts his fate, and in an attempt to keep his honor, he leans over, expecting the knight to return the blow and strike him down. After several fake swings of his axe and a brief exchange, the Green Knight explains to Gawain that he was actually transformed by Arthur's sister, Morgan Le Fay, and this whole challenge and adventure was merely just a ploy to expose Arthur's knights and to show how chivalrous they really were. The Vampire. The vampire has haunted humanity's dreams since we first dared to step out of the safety of the caves. They are the lords and the masters of the night, and feed off the living source of our essence, blood. Vampiric entities have been recorded in most cultures around the world, and many believe these creatures still live to stalk the night. They wore shrouds and were often described as bloated and made of a dark or a rubber consistency, which is vastly different from today's pale 19th century vampires. Vampires are often considered powerful due to their different variety of powers and abilities and their near indestructible nature. They tend to be extremely difficult to kill unless beheaded or you pierce their heart with a wooden or silver stake. They are sometimes known to have creatures with them called familiars which protect them while they sleep. These creatures can be either ghouls or, in some cases, werewolves. The Jorogamo The Jorogamo is a famous spider-type monster in Japan. It can shapeshift between three forms: a giant spider, a human woman, half woman, and half spider. It transforms into a human woman to seduce and entrap humans to eat. However, its reflection will show its true spider form. According to legend, when a Jorogamo turns 400 years old, it gains magical powers. Story of Jorogamo can be found in Edo period works. In many of these stories, Jorogamo changes its appearance into a beautiful woman to ask a samurai to marry her, or takes the form of a young woman carrying a baby, which may turn out to be a spider's egg sac. In other legends from that era, it was said that a beautiful woman would entice a man into a quiet shack and begin to play a musical instrument. While the victim was distracted by the sound of the instrument, she would bind him in spider silk in order to devour him. Jorogamo's favorite prey is young, handsome men who are looking for love. When a Jorogamo spots a man she desires, she invites him into her home, and he is usually never seen again. A Jorogamo can operate like this for years and years, even in the middle of a busy city, while the skeletons of hundreds of young men build up in her home. The Jorogamo can spin silk thread strong enough to ensnare a grown man so that he cannot escape. They also have a powerful venom that can slowly weaken a man day by day, allowing the spider to savor the long and painful death her victim suffers. They can control other, lesser spiders, even employing fire-breathing spiders to burn down the houses of any who may grow suspicious of them. Jorogamo live solitary lives, both as spiders and as monsters. When a golden orb weaver reaches 400 years of age, it develops magical powers and begins to feed on human prey. They make their nests in caves, forests, or empty houses in towns. They possess a cunning intelligence and a cold heart, and see humans as nothing more than insects to feed on. They are skillful deceivers and powerful shapeshifters, usually spending their lives appearing as young, sexy, and stunningly beautiful women. Mistress of the Jurin Falls. In a variation of the story of the Jurin waterfall, the logger falls in love with the woman, the Jorogamo, and starts visiting the falls every day to see her. But as time passes, he starts growing weaker and weaker. A monk from a neighboring temple believes the logger has been trapped by the spider, so he and the logger go to the waterfall together, and the monk reads a Buddhist sutra there. While the monk reads the sutra, spider threads appear from the pool and attempt to wrap themselves around the logger, but the monk shouts his Buddhist chant and they disappear. Though the logger soon realizes that the woman was a spider, he cannot forget his love for her. He then asks for help from a Tengu master of the yogi of the mountain, but the Tengu forbids this love. The logger was unwilling to give up his love for the Jorogamo. Running back to the waterfall, he is caught by silk threads and finally falls into the water, never to surface again. What's up, everybody? P691000 here. And as you can see, I'm in my orange shirt. So that means one of two things. I'm talking about Snick, which I'm not in this video, or it's Halloween. And it's most definitely Halloween. So, in all the years that I've been on YouTube and making creepy content, I finally did a Halloween video, or a few Halloween videos. I hope that you liked them. I hope everybody has a safe and nice and happy Halloween. Be safe out there. Peace, love. I love you all. And happy Halloween.